Hi everybody, I'm Lisa. I'm the marketing director here at ProWritingAid. I'm also the editor of the ProWritingAid blog. I just wanted to say welcome. Thanks for being here with us tonight. These are the things that we're going to try and get through today. Uploading your document, running the real-time check, running a summary report. We'll look a bit at the individual reports and help you figure out which reports are right for you. Chris will talk through a couple other helpful features. Then we'll look at integrations, blog, and writing resources. Chris is the founder of ProWritingAid. He created the first version of ProWritingAid about 6 years ago when he broke his ankle and he was trapped in bed, and instead of feeling sorry for us and eating ice cream like I would have, he decided to edit his novel. And then when he was having some trouble with that, he created the first simple version of ProWritingAid to help him edit his own book. And that's where it all began. Does that sound right?
Yep, it was too cold to eat ice cream.
Yeah, he was in France in the winter, so he couldn't get outside.
Yeah.
Bed. So that's why we're all here today.
I couldn't even go for a walk because there was snow everywhere. I was on crutches.
So what we're going to do is in a minute, here, I'm going to move that. So in a minute, Chris is going to share his screen and he's going to do just a basic walkthrough through the software just to show you what you need to do to get up and running. And then we'll let you guys guide us in terms of content today. So if there's specific questions you have, if there's specific features or integrations that you want us to look at, just let us know in the Q&A box. And we'll just see where the session takes us. Chris, do you want to share your screen?
Yeah. Okay, so this is a web editor. So what I've done so far is just gone to the menu and chosen upload, and then chosen my document, and then it's appeared here. So one of the reasons why we suggest people upload rather than copying and pasting, which might be your natural inclination, is because when you're copying and pasting, and because this is a website and it's not Microsoft Word or whatever, there might be some kind of loss of formatting in the translation, and that's unfortunately beyond our control. But what we can do is if you upload your document, what we do is we save it so that we can then just apply the changes. So once you've uploaded a document, then you can make your changes and then finally export it. And your exported document will have all of your formatting perfectly maintained with your changes made. So other pieces of software, you might find that they only offer the ability to copy and paste, and then you'll have the problem that you have to spend ages readjusting all of your formatting. It might not look exactly the same in our editor as it does in your word processor, but have faith that it will.
Yeah, don't panic, especially Scrivener users. I think, in particular, open up their Scrivener files and panic because it looks slightly different, but it's all there. Don't panic. We've saved it all, and it'll all be there when you open it up again in the other platform.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, we do have plugins for lots of word processors that you can work directly in the word processor that you'd like. So you can see I've uploaded my document, and immediately these highlights appear. You can see I can click here, and then when I hover over it, I can choose to accept the suggestion. There's a handy little button here for help, and if you click on that, you'll get this nice help panel. So one of the things that we try and do is integrate information and learning resources throughout the tool. So one of the things that we offer more than just a plain grammar checker is the ability to learn as you're writing. So if there's ever anything that you're unsure about, you should find a useful article that is describing exactly what's going on. And as you can see down here, we've got videos integrated as well.
And that one's a really good example, the word vary, because the word vary isn't grammatically incorrect, but we flag it because if you use too many of them in your writing, it can feel a bit artificial. Sometimes vary doesn't actually add more impact to your words. It can actually lessen it. And so we always try and include writing techniques so that as you're going along, you're learning, these sort of tips and techniques that'll make you a better writer in the long term.
Yeah, exactly. And on every article, there's a link to read a full article as well, which will give you more detail. So you can go into as much depth as you need. You can either read just a short summary to accept it, or you can go into great depth and learn lots of different things about it, and see we link to other useful resources as well. And this is on our blog, which is full of useful information to help you improve. And that's the reason that I created the product in the first place, was to help myself learn, to take all of that kind of information that I've been reading in books and on blogs and whatever, and actually apply it to my own writing. Because I think when you're reading things in books, it's very abstract and it's very hard to see how that actually applies to your writing. So what we're trying to do is turn that into a kind of living, breathing tool that helps you when you need it, without having to like flick through a kind of style guide or a book to remember why you shouldn't have very in there. Mm-hmm. So there's three kinds of highlights we can see here. So the blue ones are grammar mistakes, the yellow ones are style suggestions, and the red ones are spelling. So as Lisa mentioned, with the style, you don't have to accept it. They're just suggestions, and what we do is we have a team of professional copy editors who are creating these rules, and they're the rules that cover the things that they would typically correct when they're looking at a client's work. So all we're doing is we're automating that process so that you get a much more polished manuscript at the end. And I think that's an important note, is we're not trying to replace the copy editor. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get you more value if you do decide to use a copy editor from your copy editor, because we'll do all of the quick wins. Your document will be a lot stronger when you give it to your copy editor, and then they can focus on the more important things or the harder things that only a human can do. Things like tone of voice, characterizations.
Yeah, you don't want to pay your copy editor to fix your spelling mistakes. You can do that. You want to make it as tight as possible before you send anything off to a pro. Then you'll get so much more out of them.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of copy editors recommend to their clients that they use ProWritingAid before sending it to them, mm-hmm. Because you'll get a lot more value from them. And in fact, a lot of copy editors use ProWritingAid just because it gives them all of the fixes automatically and speeds up their process. So again, they can focus on the harder to do things that will give you the more value.
Great. Do you want to run a summary report? I always think that's the best place to start.
Yeah, here we go. So the summary report is designed to give you an overview of your document. So we're actually in the process of upgrading the summary report a little bit. So this is a new version. Some of you might still have seen the old version.
Oh yeah, this is a bit of a preview. This is what you will find rolling out over the next couple of weeks.
Yes, so what we're trying to do here is we're trying to show you the strengths and potential weaknesses of your document. So we score you on a variety of different things. So you can see that here 63% of my goals have been achieved. So things like my average sentence length look really good, my readability grade and sentence variety. And again, you can click on here and you get more details. So if you don't know what sentence length variety is or why it's important, you can get an article that will explain it. If you don't know, for instance, what slow pacing is, again, you can get an article that explains it here. So I think the obvious thing that people want to do is then look at the areas where they can improve potentially. So here I can see that, for instance, I've got bad adverbs. So I might want to look at those. My spelling is not 100%, either it's my style or grammar, but you saw that from the real-time highlights that you were getting already. There also seems to be something about dialogue tags here. So I seem to have overused dialogue tags and maybe have too many unusual dialogue tags as well. And you can just click on one of these and it will take you down and show you more information. So see dialogue tags, the words like said and asked, and those are the most suggested ones, but people love to use things like shouted, whispered, repeated, ventured. They're generally frowned upon. So what we do is we look at your writing and then we measure the number of dialogue tags you've used of each type. So he said, she said, he whispered, and then we measure it against whichever genre you've selected. So again, one of the things that we do is we compare your writing to different genres. So for instance, here I've chosen fiction, but you might choose non-fiction or business. And then we show you how you compare to that. So you get a good benchmark to see how you can compare. And some of the checks are only available for certain types of writing. So for instance, dialogue tags, you wouldn't be using dialogue tags if you're writing a business email, for instance.
So don't panic if you have been in the editor already and your summary report doesn't look like this. It will shortly. This has a few more bells and whistles than the current existing summary report has. I just wanted to mention that in case anyone's thinking, where is this?
Yeah, so this is kind of a redesign that's to help you and guide you more and give you more direction into where you want to make your changes.
We want to be really specific that when you look at this, if you think of it, Chris said the other day that if you think of it like an infographic, this is all of your high level stats, and these are the key areas where you can get the biggest bang for your editing buck. So the idea is that you have these goals, you see exactly what you need to do, and from here you go and you run the reports to help make those changes. So this is a map or a guide. Yeah.
So you can see there's an awful lot of information in here, and you can really delve down into it. And I think you'll learn a lot about your writing and the things that you want to look at by going through this. You can see, for instance, bad adverbs. I think adverbs are something that people talk about a lot with writing. So the basic idea is an adverb is a word that alters a verb. So literally adds to the verb. So quickly is an adverb. You say you walked quickly, you talked quickly. They're generally considered to be bad, and lots of software just flags all of your adverbs. Others say, oh, it's only ly adverbs, like quickly. But we actually do a finer grade of categorization. We say, well, actually, it's only a certain type of the ly adverbs, which we call the bad adverbs. So adverbs of time, like currently, aren't bad because you still need them.
They're adding new information as opposed to just trying to modify existing information. That's how I make sense of them in my head.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody uses adverbs when they're writing, because when you're writing, you're in the sense of flow and you just want to get your ideas down on a page. So you put down words that come to you immediately. So that the quickest word that comes to your head that conveys the thing that is in your mind. So if you want to say somebody moved quickly across the room, generally that's easy because move is a very common word and quickly is a very common word. So you just put that down. But if you actually think about it, there's lots of stronger verbs that you could use to replace that, that would give more interest to the reader. So for instance, if somebody moved quickly across the room, you might say they sprinted or they rushed or they hurried. All of those would convey more nuance of the way that they moved across the room. And so it's good to replace them. So what we try and do is we'll highlight those bad adverbs for you. Obviously, you can see here that there's a certain degree that are all still used within fiction. But in this particular piece of writing, I've gone way over that. So it would be good to reduce my usage of adverbs quite considerably in this piece of writing.
Which isn't to say that all bad adverbs have to go. You're the writer. It's your voice. It's your story to tell. I always think of it as having an editor, sitting behind me, just tapping me on the corner, saying, "Is that really the best way that you can say that? Is that the strongest word that you can use here? Is this the right thing for you to do?" And then you're the writer, you make the decision, you rewrite it, you change it, or you stick with it. And even professional writers, you can see, still use 8.8, what is it, words per...
Adverbs per 1,000 words, yeah.
Someone's just asking where you select your documents genre.
It's a very good question. In the editor, we have the settings tab here. So there you can just choose your genres. So you can see we've got the kind of major genres here. You can also change your language depending on who your audience is. And then we have a variety of other settings on this page. So you can see there's various things. One of them as well is this ability to choose a favourite author. So if you want to compare yourself to a particular author as well.
This is new. We're quite excited about this.
Yeah. And then that author will be added to your comparison as well. So we've included a lot of well-known authors. So back to the report. So the summary is giving me an indication. Obviously, the style and grammar issues I can just go through here, and you can see there's everything kind of like subject-verb agreement. Just correct that. Things like punctuation. So, for instance, here's a comma splice where I've basically taken two sentences instead of using a period at the end of the one. I've used a comma to join them together. So it's interesting. I replace that with a semicolon. It's versus its, that's a pain. We highlighted that.
Chris, there's a couple of questions here. Can I interrupt you?
Of course.
So Frederick says, will this new report, I assume the new summary report, will be available on PC as well as Mac?
Yeah, it will be available everywhere that ProWritingAid is available.
Great. Barb says, how do you do that if you're using a plugin such as Word?
So in our Word add-in, there is a button to run the summary report. So this is our Word add-in, little sneak preview. So here, there's a summary report. So when you run that, it will run it on your text and show you the same thing.
Okay, great. Someone's asking if the program will suggest stronger verbs to replace the adverbs.
Yeah, it does in some cases. So we have built up a dictionary of replacements. So again, it's quite a difficult thing to do, to think of the replacement, and you can't just look it up in a thesaurus. You can't look up run quickly. So we have extracted a bunch of synonyms for those words and built our own dictionary of adverb replacements. So we can't always suggest the right thing, but we try to do that to make it easier for you. And that's what we try and do everywhere. The whole tool is designed to make your life easier. I mean, if you think about it, there's lots of things that you could do yourself, right? You could go through and look for every word that ends with ly and say, is this an adverb? And then think, can I come up with a better replacement for it? But that's a long and tedious task, so we just do it for you automatically.
You could count all the words in every sentence just to make sure that your average sentence length is okay.
Yeah, exactly. So the tool is doing what computers do well, and that's automating mundane and repetitive tasks and accessing information and providing it to you when you need it.
Yeah, well, and actually another thing that's useful is if we aren't able to suggest an adverb replacement for you, if you double click any of the words, Chris, do you want to just show that? Choose a word, double click it, and then we'll pull up other words that will work in a similar context.
Oops, yeah. So if you double click on a word, then you get a bunch of synonyms. And what we try and do is actually, we don't give you all of the synonyms for the word. We look at the surrounding context and then we try and fit it specifically to that word, that context. So you don't get, if you're saying I need to book a flight, you don't get I need to novel a flight, right? So
yeah, and after you double click it, you can If you do want to go deeper, you can also open up the Word Explorer.
Yeah, so this is kind of my source of inspiration whenever I'm a bit stuck with my writing. You can search any word in here, and it gives you lots of resources about that word. So for instance, a reverse dictionary I think is really interesting. So this is all of the words in the dictionary that have beautiful in their definitions. So it's very good for kind of lateral thinking and stimulating your mind. So if you wanted to say like, oh, she was really beautiful, right? You could say, oh, she was like a Southern Belle, or like Helen of Troy, or whatever. So you see, or she wasn't an ugly duckling. So you see all of these things that will help you to make semantic jumps, and there's obviously things like a thesaurus as well. There's lists that contain them, alliterations, cliches that contain the word beautiful as a day is long. There's a huge amount of resources in here, and even examples from books and from quotes. So if you're lacking inspiration, or if you're trying to kind of come up with a good idea, then this is the place to go.
If you just want to procrastinate for a bit and play around with some words, it's a bit dangerous. It can eat up hours of your life.
Black hole.
So I got the question. I got Barb's question wrong. She was asking in the Word plugin, how do you set the style in there?
Okay. Yeah. So in the Word plugin, there you can see there's a settings button here, and then the style is just here. So,
great.
So on the settings bar.
Okay, great. Okay, let's see. Someone is asking if this is a paid application. Do you want to talk just for a second then about the difference between a free and a premium subscription?
Yeah, so the application is what we call freemium. So there's a free version that you can use without paying anything, and then there's a premium version which you pay a very reasonable subscription for, and it gives you extra features. So the free version is limited to a maximum of 500 words, and only on the web and in the browser extensions, whereas the paid version gives you unlimited words, and it gives you all of our other extensions such as Microsoft Word, the desktop app, Google Docs.
The desktop app is good for Scrivener, and then we've got a bunch of browser extensions as well.
Yes.
And then the other thing you get as a premium subscriber is access to all the books in our writing resource library. We've got 10 books now that are all about building your skills in writing fiction, in writing at work, in becoming a freelancer, developing an author profile, all kinds of things in there. So that's another benefit that you get as part of a premium subscription. Yeah,
I mean, these books, again, they're worth probably more than the subscription itself.
Yeah, if you bought them all on Amazon, it would cost you more.
Yeah, and I think one of our main aims as a company is to help people learn and improve their skills, and that's why we created all of the content around the issues that we're highlighting. That's why we've created all of these ebooks. So that you can learn. So there's everything in here, whether you're writing a novel, creating characters, planning a novel, copywriter, there's one's about getting published, one's about business writing, how to use, how to help your students become better writers. There's so many resources now. Losing track.
All right, let's go back into the tool. There's a couple more questions here. And then while we're answering one of these questions, I'm just going to do a quick poll. So the question says, what is your favorite ProWritingAid report? But actually what I mean is, which report would you like us to go into and have a look at? So I'm just running a report now. If you want to choose the ones that you want us to look at a bit more deeply, that would be great. And then while they're doing that, someone has asked how much can be uploaded at a time?
Well, to the website, in theory, it's unlimited. Obviously, there is limits to the amount that your browser or computer can handle. So often we find it's very much driven by what hardware you're using. But to be honest, I just wouldn't recommend working on huge amounts of text at any time, just because you're not going to edit a whole book in a day, or even a week probably, right? So if you're running every report on every on a 100,000 word document every time, it's just going to take you ages, and you're not going to go through the whole document in that report in one sitting. So I would recommend one or two different ways of working. The first is to work on a single chapter or two chapters at a time and work through each of the reports until you get it to a level where you're happy and satisfied. That's my preferred way of working. Other people like to work through the whole document, working on one particular report, and then start again at the beginning and work through on another report. So the benefit of that is that you kind of get into a groove. So for instance, if you're replacing adverbs, you're like, oh yeah, I remember this is what I want to replace it with. You get kind of adverb inspiration.
Yeah, I get on a roll. I love adverb annihilation rolls where I just go through and like, it's great.
Yeah, so I mean, I honestly wouldn't work on more than 3 or 4 chapters at a time, just because otherwise you're just going to spend time needlessly waiting, for it to analyze more than you can ever read and through at the time.
But you can upload bigger documents and then highlight sections and just run the reports on those sections. So that takes less time for the full analysis to run. And certain reports, like the thesaurus report, because they literally look at every single word in your document, they need to be run on a slightly smaller bit of text as well. But that's a good way to get around it if you have a really big document, but you just want to look at smaller sections at a time.
Yeah, and if you upload a Microsoft Word document with the proper headings in it for chapters, then what we'll do is actually it'll split it up and show you the chapters down the left-hand side of the screen, and then you can just work through each chapter, and so that makes your workflow a lot easier. And then again, at the end, you can just download the whole book with all of your changes and edits, and it'll be magically edited and formatted for you.
Okay, great. So the winner of the report request poll is the style report and the grammar report. And then if we've got time.
Readability, I see.
You see readability? Oh, I did. Oh, I thought these were ordered. Oh, readability, sticky sentence, and style.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought they were ordered from top to bottom. Okay.
That's my 3 favorite reports.
They are my favorite reports. Sticky sentences.
Well, that might throw the thesaurus report in there and the repeats report. So let's start. Sticky sentences for me is, I think, one of the most useful reports. So the obvious question is, what do we mean by a sticky sentence? And what we mean is these are sentences that are particularly hard to get through. So in the tool, what we're trying to do is we're trying to point you to the areas of your writing that will give you the most improvement with the least amount of work. Given that you only have a limited amount of time to improve any piece of writing, we want you to focus on what's most important. So that's why in the readability report, we'll see we focus you on the hardest to read paragraphs. In the sticky sentence report, what we're doing is we're focusing you on the hardest to read sentences. So we divide words into what we call glue words and non-glue words. So the glue words are the words that stick together the sentence. They don't really have much meaning, and they're just more to make it grammatical. So I think this is a good example of a sentence, and you can see in the suggestion, it says that this is 63% glue of 19 words, and you can see a list of the glue words. can, how, must be, to, get in, etc. If I just told you those words, you would have absolutely no idea what this sentence was about. But if I told you the other words in this sentence, which are you, imagine, hard, whatever, right? You can kind of guess what the sentence is because those are the words that hold the meaning. And what we've done when we've written this sentence is we've glued those words together, the meaning words, or sometimes called the meat and potato words. We've glued them together with glue words. And what people tend to do is put in way too many of those words. And you just get in the way of the meaning. And you know, say 63% of these words are superfluous to the meaning of the sentence. So generally speaking, when you find a glue sentence, it's very easy to go in and say, okay, well, I can just cut actually half of the sentence.
And we're not saying that all glue words need to go, like sentences require glue words to stick them together. It's just an indicator of an awkwardly constructed sentence. Often it goes in different directions, or you've tried to put too much information in, or you've tried to put two ideas together that don't quite work together. And so it's a good way for you to help flag sentences that you can probably make more concise. Yeah,
I always think it's because you've been writing like you would talk, right? Mm-hmm. When you talk, you put in lots of superfluous words so that your brain can catch up with what you're saying, or keep up with what you're saying. But when you're writing, that's a great opportunity to use fewer words that convey the same meaning and are just easier for your reader to read. So
yeah. So do you want to rewrite that one?
Yeah. So I would just change it. You know, you can imagine it's probably pointless. Right? I can say it must be. I don't need that to get. Right, so I've cut half the words and maintained all of the meaning. So you know what I did, or when I was writing that sentence, was I just put in a lot of extra scaffolding that I didn't need. Which is, again, you know, you're not focusing on that when you're writing. You're in this flow state. You're just trying to get down ideas, and it's only natural to add in extra words that aren't needed. So editing is when it's the perfect time to take those out. So we're trying to point you at the sentences which will get the most benefit from being edited. Right? I need all the help I can get in this, say, like. Say I need help. Again.
Yeah. And it's, you know, this isn't one of the reports that will give you suggestions. We'll never be able to rewrite your sticky sentence for you, but it's an editor flag saying this sentence has too many glue words. And if you look at the metrics of published writing, so writing that is clearly successful because it has gotten published within the traditional sphere, their glue word usage is low. And so it's an indicator that your sentence could probably be improved.
Yeah, and you know, so if you want to read more and to go further into it, you can see we've got a very extensive article linked from the help. It tells you what all the glue words are. It gives you some examples of how to rewrite sentences as well. It gives you different ways, you know, different causes for sticky sentences. So you can see complex, backloading, packing too many points, non-essential information, and again, you know, video help as well. So wherever you are, that little orange button on the help will give you a lot of information.
And readability works in a similar sort of way in that it flags really long sentences and sentences that have used overly complicated words, too many syllables, that sort of thing. So again, there it's sentences that are just flagged that you need to look at and see if they can be made more clear, simplified.
Exactly, and we grade every paragraph by its readability, and so in this piece there's not really any issues. It's a slightly difficult to read paragraph, but what I really look at is a very difficult to read paragraphs. And as Lisa said, the readability grade, we use standard readability measures that are made up of basically the number of words in the sentence and the number of syllables on average per word. And so if you've got readability issues, then the two things to focus on are using shorter sentences and shorter words.
Yeah, and just a little caveat is that we're not saying you want to dumb down your writing. Your ideas can still be complex. Your description can still be lush. It's more about clarity, about helping your reader understand your point in the easiest way. I mean, writers like Hemingway score at a middle school readability grade, and they're certainly not dumbed down. They're not writing for people in middle school. They're writing, for grown-ups, but they're writing in a way that it's really easy for the reader to take in and understand their points.
Yeah, exactly. To improve your readability, you don't have to use dumbed down vocabulary, right? And I think that's the difference when people, one of the problems of using grade levels for readability scores is that people think, oh, I read like a 12-year-old. But no, actually, it's not at the vocabulary level, it's at the simplicity level. So you can still use evocative vocabulary without having lots of long sentences and long words, right? Just because you're using sorry.
Sorry, I just realized that we're already running low on time. Do you want to run the style report quickly? And then there's a couple of people asking about integrations like Scrivener and that sort of thing. So
sure.
I think the style report has a lot in the sidebar that would be worth looking at.
Yeah, so the style report has lots of different things. So style improvements, so these are sort of suggestions of things like replacing great worlds. Great is, again, kind of very sort of overused word. All of the readability enhancements that you see in the real time as well up here. Some people just prefer to use the style report because it's not updating all the time. And they can go through using this sidebar to go to each one. So you can, the sidebar is quite handy because you can click on here if you don't want to see a certain category. And then you can navigate through the different instances of the category here. And you can even accept just by clicking on that little tick there. So you can very quickly go through your document and check everything in one particular category using this report. Personally, I just use the real time, but different people have different styles of going through things.
Yeah, and a lot of the improvements in the writing style check are ones that were created by the actual editors on our team. As they're editing other documents, they say, oh yeah, that's something that other people do. Like when it says something begins to rise, for example, you can just say it rises. You don't need to say begins to rise. And so they see that in something they're editing, and then they write a rule in our document, and then it comes up as a suggestion for everybody. So there's a mixture of rules that are created by working copy editors, and then others that are more reliant on statistics and metrics of published work.
Yeah, and I think for me, the great thing is that if you're sending your work to an editor, you send it away, and then a few days later you might get it back, and then you look at it, and then you think, okay, make some changes, and then you might send it away again. The cycle time is really high, whereas so you don't really learn to make the improvements. Whereas with us, especially in the real time, it highlights something. You type something, it highlights it. You go, oh yeah, I shouldn't write that. So you delete it, and then you get instant feedback, which really helps you learn. And then you just find that you stop making those mistakes again. So you actually improve. The level of your first draft will improve by using the tool. And so you then become, I think that's the important thing, right, is to improve as a writer constantly.
Yeah.
And that's what we're really trying to help people to do.
Okay, let's have a couple look at integrations. somebody had asked me to show a Scrivener document in the desktop. Can you have a quick look at that?
Yes, I've got the desktop app here. So unfortunately, we can't integrate directly into Scrivener because they don't have the capabilities of that. But what we do is we open up the Scrivener files and then we work directly on those files so that you don't have to copy and paste and all of that stuff that just annoys you. So when you open it, so you can see you can file open and then you can choose the file. So in this case, I've just chosen the scrivex file. On Mac, it would just be a .scriv. Slightly different on PC and Mac. And then you get your document structure like you do in Scrivener. For those of you who aren't used to Scrivener or don't know what it is, it's a tool like a word processor. It's very popular with novelists and people who are writing larger documents because it gives you this kind of nice hierarchy. You can structure your document, you can easily move sections around, you can store all of your research in with the document next to the chapter that you want to read, write, and then you can compile it all into different formats at the end, whether it's an ebook or a docx file or whatever. With this, I can just pop around in my document and you can see the real-time checking. There's no issues in that one. Real-time checking comes on for each one, and so I can work my way through my document. So if you have written it in Scrivener, this is really great because you can just work your way gradually through your document, making all the improvements, and they'll appear in your Scrivener editor as well.
Okay, great. Do you want to do sort of a similar thing with Word? So I was asking if you lose any functionality if you're working in the Word add-in as opposed to the web add-in.
No, so you can see in Word you've got again the real time, which you can turn off if you want, and it will disappear. And then you have all of the different reports, exactly the same as in the web editor.
The only thing that's slightly different is how the sidebar functions, right?
Yes, again, so for the real time, you get this sidebar here, which has all of the suggestions in it. And this is something that we're going to be adding to the web editor, but we're just trying out in here for now to see how people like it.
Yeah, so if you click on one of those, it shows you where it is in the text, and there's lots of people that like just working their way down the sidebar. So you can see it in the text, have a look at it within the context, and then make your decision.
Yeah, exactly. And so we like to give people flexibility. So you can see you can actually select it over here, or you can select it over here. So some people like to just work through all of the suggestions in a list. Others like to work through it in the document itself. And with this, you have both options.
Okay, right. Do you want to, Linda is wondering if we can, she said, how do you edit the sentence length from the report? So I think that maybe was a question from within readability and sticky sentences reports. So when those sentences are highlighted within those reports, you can still just delete and rewrite anything within your document. So we can't rewrite it for you, but you can just delete and change things and then run your report again and see if you have improved the scores. I hope that's what you're asking, Linda, sorry. Cindy says, will this webinar run again? Because she has a friend who missed it. Yep, Chris and I are here at the first Tuesday of every month. Just walking everything through. Some people come every month just to brush up on their skills and see if there's anything else that they can learn. So you're welcome to invite anybody along.
And also we send out a recording, don't we? So
yes,
if they just want to watch the recording, that's also an option.
Yeah, exactly. Liz says, how do you upload a whole novel to PDF to ProWritingAid? And can you repeat where you pull where you can pull one chapter at a time from your novel if this is done? So how do you highlight just sections to do the analysis?
So to do that, well, all you need to have done is for it to be a Word document and to have created chapter headings and not use the use these heading styles here. So if I open up a document that I have like these headings in, but I open it up in web editor, then I'll get a panel down this side which shows you the different chapters and allows you to navigate them. But if you are using Microsoft Word, then you're much better to use our Word add-in because it's right in Word. This is the Word add-in for Windows, but we are very, 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 very soon going to be launching one for Mac. We're just waiting for approval from the Microsoft Office store.
Yeah, it's done. It will be.
Watch this space.
In
Lisa
your inbox, hopefully soon. Yeah. We're just waiting on Microsoft.
Yeah.
Okay. So Bruce says, is there anything in ProWritingAid that will check on scene breaks and put in the proper icon? Like the ... to break?
Not currently.
No. Okay, that's a quick one. Linda says, can you explain how the books on the left work, the books and the person icon? I think she means on the right, where the book baby and the first editing.
These ones, so this is just if you are ready to use a human editor. So once you've edited all of your document, then we just take you through to a human editor.
Yeah, there's a company called First Editing that we really think is great. They've got a really excellent team of editors, and so that just takes you straight to them.
Yeah,
and then Book Baby.
Similarly with Book Baby.
Yeah.
You can get book editing services as well. So, and that kind of frames where we fit in. So, as I mentioned before, if you are writing a book, generally you would use our product after you've got the first draft to edit either one or two, sometimes even 3 times before you then send it to a professional copy editor who will then take it to being a polished manuscript, and then you'll publish it and hopefully achieve great success.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the aim. And then you can send me a book dedicating it to ProWritingAid.
No, lots of people have sent us books over the years, saying that they edit their books with ProWritingAid. We're in a couple of acknowledgements and thank yous in books around the world.
Yeah, that's, for me, that's the most amazing thing, is to get that kind of praise and like feedback, and just getting positive feedback. I think on the internet everyone gets caught up in negative emotions, and it's very easy to complain about things, but when people leave positive feedback, it's so rewarding. And you can see this is our Chrome extension, which is also very useful if you're writing emails.
We didn't even talk about that.
You can install it, go to the Chrome store and search for ProWritingAid, and you can see that we've got over 1,300 reviews, averaging 4.8 stars out of 5. And you can just, for me, it's just great to see all of these people who we've helped with really positive experiences.
Yeah, well, Chris sent me, showed me a book the other day that someone had sent a message in saying that they had edited it all with our software, and then we found it on Amazon, and then all the reviews for that were saying, this book has changed my life, this book has really changed the way, it was a book for kids, this has changed the way that I interact with my kids. And so it's all those, writing is such an important way to reach people. So,
yeah, it was helping kids teaching them about overcoming adversity. So it just made me think about all of the people that you can help through your writing, and hopefully we're here to help you, to empower you to have more confidence in your writing.
Yeah, exactly. And to that end, we've got such a huge range of webinars. I know some of you come to others as well, but if you're new to ProWritingAid and our community, we're doing probably 2 webinars a week at the moment. Then it's just free training that we ask experts to come and do. And they do it so that, you know, maybe you'll go and buy their book, or maybe you'll go and register for something else they do. But we ask them all just to come and teach us something for free, and they're really great, and it's a really nice way to, you know, be
so just go to ProWritingAid.com/webinars, and you'll find we've got a monthly book doctor, we've got a friendly business writing professor. He goes through different things every month, and as Lisa said, it's all free. It's all there designed to help you improve and to inspire you, so that you can go out and inspire other people.
Oh yeah, and if anybody is doing National Novel Writing Month this November, there where it says NaNoWriMo, that stands for National Novel Writing Month. That's when like 500,000 people or something from around the world all make a commitment to just hammer out the first draft of their novel throughout the month of November. And there's a whole community around it, and lots of people do it. It's a good way just to get yourself in the system and get the words out. So we've got the executive director, Grant Faulkner, coming to help us plan and figure out how to actually get 50,000 words written in 1 month. It's really fun if anybody wants to do it. Oh, I've got another question about the word Addin. In the word Addin, how do you choose American English versus British English or Canadian English? I'm Canadian. Shout out to a couple of other Canadians.
It actually does it based on the language. So you can set in the review here, you go to the language settings and you can set your proofing language. And so it just, see, I've got mine set to English UK. But if you just change it there, then it will affect our settings as well.
Yeah, so that's a bit different from in the web editor and some of the other ones.
Yeah. Quickly show the Google Docs add-in.
Oh yeah, good idea.
So again, we've got Google Docs add-in for anybody who's using that. And in fact, these highlights are from our Chrome extension, which you can see here. So that gives real-time highlights. And then we actually have an add-on as well, which you can get so that if you go to this get add-ons, and you can search for us and install it, and then that will give you, if you click on this improved document, it will open up the full web editor. Just loading up my whole document. So it's because I've got
somebody should give you a free license.
I know, give myself a free. I like to test the free version with my Gmail. So you can see again everything that I showed you earlier is available here within Google Docs. So yeah, what we try and do is make it as easy for people as possible to use the tool, because that's going to make you use it more, make your lives easier.
Yeah, and do you want to just show the Chrome extension quickly? You can just do it in Twitter there, but it works in like almost any text editor. So I use the Chrome extension in Gmail before I send any emails, I check them. And it has the same sort of thing. You can open up an overlay that sits over top.
Yeah, so you can see I've typed it and then it says, right, okay, you can click here and it opens up the overlay with all of the text in it, and again, you can access all of those reports within here.
I've got someone asking, so for the new version of the summary report, will that be available, or is that a paid upgrade if you already have a subscription?
No, so once you have that's a very good question. Once you have a paid subscription, then you get any updates are all included in it for the lifetime of your subscription. And we actually have a lifetime subscription as well, which is very popular. Not a lot of software offers that in this day and age. Most try and tie you into kind of recurring subscriptions. We also have a recurring subscription as well if you want to. If you're happy to pay monthly or yearly.
But yeah, once you're premium, there's no additional payments on top of it for different versions. You have access to all of the integrations, any new changes. We're rolling out the Mac add-in hopefully next week, fingers crossed. That'll all be included in your subscription. So yeah, and with lifetime, any future versions are included in that. So thank you, everybody, for coming. I really appreciate that. I know there's a couple questions that we didn't get to. You're welcome to get in touch. And for those of you that come regularly, there's a couple of names like Grace and Liz. We're doing a bit of market research. We just want to talk to people who use the tool regularly and just find out how they use it. So if you'd be interested in doing that, do you want to just drop me an email? I'm just at hello@ProWritingAid.com. And then we just want to ask you some questions and find out how we can make the whole experience even better for you. And that's it. That's it. We're out of time. Oh, great. Okay. Thanks everybody for being here. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's good fun.